Jones. One hoped you were dead.
Mr. Jones, your credit card has been denied.
3 years without a word. What do you want?
I want to make my kitchen the best in the world.
Service!
Yes, chef!
I found this guy waiting in the hallway who wanted to come out and say hello. Bradley Cooper, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dave Karger. I am the chief correspondent at Fandango. I'm also an Oscar nerd, for those of you who know me. And I want to start by giving you guys an interesting statistic that I'm fascinated by and I want to ask you about. There were 9 actors in the last 50 years who were able to get 3 consecutive Oscar nominations. Richard Burton, Jack Nicholson, Al Pacino, Jane Fonda, Glenn Close, Meryl Streep, William Hurt, Russell Crowe, and Renee Zellweger. This year, a 10th person did that in the last 50 years. It's Bradley Cooper. Maybe you didn't know that list, but clearly someone pointed that out to you when you got the American Sniper nomination. Did the enormity of that hit you?
First of all, thanks for coming. This is really loud, right? Jesus.
Put it down. There you go.
Yeah, no, it was very emotional when we found out we had nominations for Sniper for many reasons. The subject matter, how close it was to all of us, and obviously for me personally, being able to do it with Clint Eastwood.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For all of the roles that you played, whether it's on stage, on TV, or on film, have you ever played a guy with as big a temper as you do in this film?
No, I don't think so.
And how did that change things? What did that add to the equation, that aspect of his character?
I think he was just somebody he's so myopic in what he wants to do. It's not actually ego-driven at all. I think it's just a real obsession with perfection, a real obsession with wanting to create this thing that he needs to create. And, you know, for example, that when he blows up on everybody opening night, he really does say, like, he really does believe it's his fault. You know, he says, it's my fault. I mean, I was being sincere when I said that. He does then lash out at everybody, but it really comes from a sense of deep self-loathing, which I think is what we watched this guy, and probably why he wound up where he was in the world at the beginning of the movie anyway.
When you were doing the research for this and talking to a lot of chefs, whether it was Marcus Waring, who really helped out with the food, or Mario Batali, or Gordon Ramsay, did you come to a realization of why chefs often are arrogant? Is it for that reason that you just said, or are there other things that add to that?
Well, I mean, everybody's different. But, you know, it was invaluable. Marcus Waring, first of all, is the reason why, if I look at all, like I know what I'm doing, is because of him. He was there just almost every day. And we were all, we are all cooking. But he was incredible. Before every take, I would have him run through it, and I would just basically mimic everything that he did. Just little things like the back of the spoon when he's taking. I mean, there's so many little things that he taught me. So he was just, I mean, I wouldn't have been able to create, Adam Jones wouldn't have been that character without him. But in terms of the arrogance, he's a very quiet guy, actually, Marcus. You know, you know what? Here's the thing that I realized: you talk to these guys. You know, the only one that I saw actually working in the kitchen was Marcus. Gordon, I've gotten to know, and I've read all his autobiographies, all of them. And here's another one. There's another one.
He's a busy guy. I'm a huge Gordon Ramsay fan. I've watched so many things that he does, especially his British shows, like The F Word, which is a really great show.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that his cadence of speaking, I definitely caught in your performance a couple of times, where he'll end a lot of his sentences with yes, yeah. And I noticed that Adam does that. So I thought that was a little bit of Gordon.
And also, like Marco Pierre White is an amazing character, who was the only, I think he was the youngest male ever to get 3 Michelin stars, and was the only Brit to get it without ever cooking in France, which is incredible. But he always talks like this. You know?
Coriander, simple ingredients.
He would always do so this is that one scene in Burger King when he's like talking to her, and I just wanted to make sure I got it at least once.
I love that. Okay, toughest skill to feel like you mastered?
I think being able to plate food in a certain way under all the pressure. You know, they're really conductors. You know, a head chef working during a service at the pass being the threshold between where a plate is made and then when it goes off to the front of the house. And that I knew nothing about. I grew up cooking and working in restaurants, but I never really knew what it was like to plate food at a pass. And that is a tremendous amount of pressure because you have to make sure that the fish is going to arrive at the same time as the meat, and they only has 45 seconds, and and the garnish and the thing. And it's just, I honestly don't know how these guys survive. And there's a reason why it's such a crazy lifestyle. And you see these, you know, people go to extremes, and I mean, the amount of suicides, it's unbelievable with chefs. And it's such a high octane environment. I remember I was a waiter when I was going to college, and I thought that was too much. I was like, what, they want ice cream and then table 14? I can't do this. So I mean, let alone cooking, you know, for the Michelin when they come, like, oh my God.
Everybody should work in food service for at least a couple of weeks.
For sure.
They should.
Yeah, it's so true.
Listen, you speak French so well, and have you guys all seen the interview that he did a few years ago talking about working with Robert De Niro in French, and it was so great and like got all this attention. Was there as much of your character speaking in French in Stephen Knight's original script, or was that added because you can do it so well?
That was something I think that John Wells and Stephen worked on adding, because I speak French well, not perfectly, not fluently, as you know, but I can't speak it. But you know, and all these guys speak French. Marcus Waring speaks French. Gordon Ramsay speaks French. You know, all these guys speak French because learning as they were cooking in in kitchens. So it really is not an out of. It was something we thought, oh, this is valuable. And also the cast is so international. It would be great to see everybody speaking. You know, it's sort of like this cacophony of languages behind, you know, in the kitchen, which is also true.
Yeah. It's fascinating that you and Sienna Miller worked together again just after finishing American Sniper. What does it add, or what does it make an extra challenge when you're working with an actor that you've just worked with so intensely, working with them again so intensely, but with a different dynamic?
Well, it's invaluable. First of all, I was so lucky I begged her to do this movie.
You did?
Yeah, because we'd gotten along so well on Sniper, and I just think she's an absolutely incredible actress that's unmined, really, to a large degree. I think she's incredible in this movie.
Yeah,
I hope you guys like her. Really, I thought that all of her choices, down to her haircut and everything, it was just such a cool character. And portray a single mother working. I just thought it was great. But there's a freedom that we have and a trust. I mean, I was so comfortable with Sienna. We just thought, like, you know, the one thing about it's a very educated audience. It's not like you know, people, you know, cooking shows them behind the kitchen, and it's no joke. And we really wanted to make sure that it was real and it's physical. Yeah. And so it's only because Sienna and I felt so comfortable that we worked out everything. And after we filmed that scene, it was, I'm going to reference another movie, it was very much like when we were doing Silver Linings Playbook, and we come back from the Eagles game, and Robert De Niro rips his shirt off and starts screaming at me. Yeah. I'll never forget that day. Like the whole set, I mean, I was really crying. I think I said in the interview, they had to like take out my sound because I sounded like a hyena. I was crying so loud.
Wow.
I was like, Dad! And they're like, Bob almost had to like ADR his whole thing because there was this weird high crying going on. But that was like the energy change, and it was like that in the kitchen that day. Everybody sort of looked at me differently. I mean, it definitely felt real. And that was actually an amazing, I don't know what the question was, but.
What was it? Oh, it was about working with Sienna again.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So that, I don't think we would have been able to explore to that degree if we hadn't had this really profound experience just months prior.
When you think about all the people who are amazing people in this movie, from Daniel Bruhl to Matthew Rhys, Sienna, Emma Thompson, Omar Sy, who's the one person in the cast that kept you on your toes the most, maybe was the most unpredictable to work with?
You know, they all, I mean, they really cast an amazing array because everybody had their own idiosyncrasies. I mean, Omar is incredible, Ricardo, Everybody. I mean, Emma Thompson was amazing to work with, and Uma Thurman, and I mean, everybody. It really was.
Alicia Vikander, oh my God.
Oh yeah, she came in
Hello.
and crushed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was incredible.
She's the daughter of the.
She's Anne-Marie.
Wait till you guys see her in The Danish Girl. You're gonna flip out when you see it.
Yeah,
She's
and Ex Machina too.
Ex Machina, yeah, she was great.
Everybody had their, but I have to say probably Ricardo in terms of cooking skills, he is a master at cooking. So I was always sort of looking over my shoulder at him going, it's not so good. You can, I was like, I'm trying, bro.
Right. One last thing before I open it up to you all, because I'm sure you all have questions for Bradley. So I'll get a little catty here. Of all of the directors you've worked with, who's the most like Adam Jones?
You know what, I'm trying to think. Nobody really.
Really?
Yeah, no.
Okay. I had one in mind, and I like him a lot, but of course but I'm not gonna.
It's not him.
It's not him, okay. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, I see a hand right here, and I'm gonna repeat the question too. Hi. The question is about the very memorable moment inside the actor studio where Bradley is shown asking Robert De Niro a question, and the question is kind of what shifted in his education and his career that basically got him to this point.
You know, it's always those little moments you look for of inspiration or confirmation that you're on the right path, and that was one of them. It's interesting that you cited it as being something like that because, yeah, it's true. I wanted desperately to ask a question. I was terrified, and I wanted to ask this specific random question about awakenings. And right before I came to because you have to say before that you want to, and they pass you the mic. So I thought, oh, this is going to be a stupid question, and he's going to say, why would you ask that stupid question? and so I thought, I'll just ask some bullshit question about the mission and riding a horse. And then somebody went up and asked a question about the mission right before my question. I thought, oh no. And the next thing I know, it's my turn. I'm standing up and I'm looking at my idol across, 40, 30 feet away. And then I just asked the question that I wanted to about awakenings. And he said, good question. And it like blew me away. And I thought, it was just a little reminder of like, you know what, just go with your gut. There's a reason why you think the way you do and want to do the things you do, and you just can't let anybody tell you don't do it. But especially you. Don't allow you to tell you not to do it. The loudest voice that's a contrarian is usually me. And all these little moments of confirmation that voice should just shut up allows you to just do what you're supposed to do while you're here.
Right here in the second row. Question is whether he's now a better cook after making this, and did he love to cook? Now, does he love to cook even?
I'm definitely a better cook because of this movie, 100%. I grew up cooking. My grandmother was an amazing cook, and so I actually grew up. My mother's Italian, so that side of the family was the part that I was around as a child. And food is always, where I grew up, we were either talking about what we were going to eat, what we just ate, and what we have to put in the freezer. And so,
I love that.
Yeah, it was just a huge part of my life. And then working in kitchens since I was about 15, it was something that felt very comfortable. And then when this script came around, it was such an interesting character. And I was excited to work with Harvey Weinstein again because we had done Silver Linings Playbook together and up in London. And then he was talking about this, like all these different actors that were going to be in the movie, and each one of them I was excited about. So that's what drew me to it. Because it was tricky also because we had to shoot it. I was going to do Elephant Man, and we had just wrapped Sniper. So you can kind of see that I have a little bit of Chris Kyle in me. And he's like, is he 30 pounds, is he 20 pounds bigger in the scene before the last scene? So I was trying to lose weight for Elephant Man during the filming of the movie.
Oh, I didn't
and you're doing a cooking movie, which is, it makes it even harder. But more than, I was a prep cook at this restaurant. That's where I really learned how to handle a knife. So I didn't learn that so much. It was really about plating food. I had never plated food before that we were talking about earlier. And then also being able to meet these chefs, spend time with Gordon Ramsay, who's a remarkable individual, and Marcus Waring and Marco Pierre White. And I got to attend the service Claire Smythe at the Ramsay's restaurant in Hospital Road, which is a 3 Michelin star restaurant in London. And I was there, and I was able to go there, you know, like 3 in the afternoon till 2 in the morning, and just stay there and watch and be with them. I mean, it was incredible. I mean, that's work at a level that I didn't even know people cooked at. You know, and she's unbelievable. And the attention to detail, from the fork to everything, the history of it, how it's made, you know, it's a whole other level. I wasn't even aware that people cook at that level. So it was eye-opening, yeah.
All that Michelin dirt, too, is so great. The 2 guys that come a half hour apart and order ice water and a half bottle of wine and drop the fork.
And it's even more fanatical than that. I mean, they have booklets with people's photographs and everything. I mean, it's a whole thing.
Know.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, question right here on the aisle.
Hi, thank you for being here. I'm Alex. First of all, the temper question. I think Wedding Crashers, you maybe had a similar.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well done.
True. Sack.
Is about, like, kind of the mechanics of how you go about, once you have a part, memorizing your lines, like how you discover choices that go well with the character. If you are able to do that ahead of time, how you go about finding them and within the material or the people you're kind of studying, or only once you're on set and reacting with your actors. If there's any specifics you.
Yeah, I mean.
Great projection, too. I don't even have to repeat your question.
Yeah, I mean, the older I get, the more I realize that making decisions of performance beforehand is actually a detriment and something you're going to have to work against once you get there. It's this thing of being bedroom perfect. It was great when I did it in front of the mirror, but how come it's not working now? It's almost like 2 sections. You know, the older I get, the more I just soak up as much as I can in the rehearsal process or the preparation. So I just spent the time I had reading tons of books and interviewing as many chefs as I could and spending time with them. As well as, you know, you're looking at the script and you're developing the script with the director, talking about, so that's going on from a story standpoint, just making sure the story's coherent and things like that. But in terms of, like, being able to embody this guy, Adam Jones, in a way that you believe you're him, it really is about soaking up as much as I can, and then it's a separate thing once you become him. Because if I try to make decisions during the preparation, it actually doesn't really make sense to me, because I don't, it's counter to allowing whatever talent one has or whatever love one has of living in a moment if you're trying to recreate that or create that moment prior to. Because you're not, you know, and in terms of memorizing, the more I find at least, the more you physicalize the lines in the action, then your brain doesn't memorize it in this way of like, oh, that was the top of that page, and then it turns and I can see, you know, when that's happening, I know I'm screwed. Because I'm literally thinking about, then I pause for a second because I remember I have to turn the page and it's the top of the line, you know, or it's like a separate moment. But once that goes away, especially with a play is a great example. Because, you know, in movies you could tend to, because you're not shooting the whole script in one day, you can memorize stuff on the day or the day before. Or if there are huge passages, like for example, he had a bunch of speeches and a few weren't in the movie, but I did memorize those way ahead of time. And I would just sort of say them all the time during the day, doing different things, going for a jog or something, just so I would just get it in my DNA. So by the time I arrived, I could focus on other things. You know, for example, the scene when he's saying about the scallop, when he, you know, berates everybody, that was one of them.
I've done hundreds of these. This is the best practical advice for actors I've ever heard in my entire life. I want to get a question from kind of in the back. Yes. Yes. Really? Yes. Yes. I do.
Yeah.
First, I'd like to address one big lie in the movie. You are as pretty as you've ever been. So it's really clear that you're the real actor. When you first came on the scene, for me with Wedding Crashers and then Hangover, it seemed like this really handsome, charming guy who was lucky to be able to do these roles that came easy to him. That's what I thought. And then it became very, very clear that you were serious and dedicated and committed and talented, and you had depth. And all your roles have such variety, but equal commitment. I want to know whether you think about each role in terms of the difference it's going to be. Like, you know, between this and Sniper, for example, there's some similarities, but do you think about the difference that you need to find in the current role from the other roles, or you just go into it and see what comes out? Does it matter to you to sort of establish differences?
Thank you for what you said. I thought it was going in a whole other direction. I was like, okay, just breathe. Here we go. What's the lie? Yeah, absolutely. I try to find different things for no other reason than to further explore. You know, I have no desire to repeat anything, and I want to constantly learn. Now, I'm in a situation where I'm very lucky right now, and it won't last forever. It may not last another year, but to be really at a place where, you know, it's not just about, you know, because for a while I just got to get a job, and now, you know, for as long as it lasts, it's like, wow, able to, you know, read a book like American Sniper, and then try to produce it and go to a director like Clint Eastwood. I mean, these are things that if you told me that as a young actor in grad school, you got to be joking. But that said, you know, I remember being on Alias, and I was playing this character who was, you know, only good, it felt like, and I remember feeling like I got to play something else, and really being so grateful that I got the role in Wedding Crashers, where he was so diametrically opposed to that character. And I thought early on, like, don't, you know, really keep trying to go here and here. And I always remember Willem Dafoe came to our school and talked about how he only takes roles that scare him. And I remember thinking, or roles that scare him, roles that he thinks he can't do. And I thought, like, oh, well, I think I would only want to do things that I thought I could do. And it was interesting that I used to think that. And now it's more like things that scare me. I mean, Chris Kyle, if you told me I could have played him, I didn't. Even when we were developing, I thought, well, I'll just develop the material and tell the studio that I'll play him, but really I won't play him. I'll get another actor who I thought would have been perfect for it. Honestly, yeah. And Phil with The Hangover, it was funny because you mentioned that, because we were saying that I saw it last night, and I was telling my friend, I thought, you know, looking at that guy then, I was so the opposite of that guy, because I was going to give up the business. I was doing a play at Williamstown, and I thought, I just can't, it's not going to happen, because I knew that I only wanted to really be in the middle of storytelling. I love making a movie. I don't love just acting, but I love the whole thing. And then Todd Phillips called me and said, or emailed me and said, let's do this, bitches. and then we were filming it, and I remember, and Phil's like this very confident guy, and I was at a point in my life where I wouldn't say, and I'm with these massive, you know, juggernaut comedians who are crushing it, and for Phil to come off the way he did, I remember that I felt like that was like, you know, I don't know how that happened, because I wasn't in that place. So I always feel like that I try to do things that don't come easy, but that only happen later. Anyway, sorry. Does that make sense?
Here in the third row with, yes. Hi.
First of all, I would like to say that presently I'm playing a role as a sous chef on the new John Stamos show.
Grandfather.
I'm in the kitchen, Jimmy's kitchen. So your character role was so true to the part that John is playing, and you did an excellent job.
Oh, thanks.
However, my question is this: how do you stay so grounded and so nice in this business? I had the opportunity to play one of your background nurses on American Sniper. We were in Inglewood in the hospital, and you spoke to us. You were so nice, and I remember meeting you, and you were, you know, you greeted us, and I was like, oh my God, he's such an A-list actor, principal, and he's so nice to us background. So my question is, how do you stay so nice?
Well, you know, I think the question perplexes me at the root, and maybe that's why, is because why wouldn't I be? Yeah, but I mean, I don't know, but I mean, like, you're a human being, we're all on set together trying to tell the story. To me, it's always very clear, and that's the real truth. Everything else is a sort of artificial branding or ladder sort of work, but I don't know what that means, but you know what I'm saying? So I don't know, I'm always happy to see another human being on a set that we're going to tell a story together with. I mean, maybe it's because I love what I do. I absolutely love it, you know. And I think that if you love what you do, isn't it hard to be an asshole? I don't know. I mean, and I'm also grateful. It's like, it's not lost on me that to be able to do this. You know, we're lucky. We're so lucky.
Do you have a coping mechanism for days that try your patience? Because we all have days that try our patience.
Yeah, for sure, man. No, I can get very frustrated, and I always feel like people must know how frustrated I am, but then they're like, no, you seemed happy. I was like, really? Really? I thought I was going to kill somebody. Breathing. There's the coping mechanism, yeah. Okay. Yeah, but frustration on set usually comes from trying to understand why something's being done the way it is when it doesn't see, you know, that kind of thing, like, oh, why, you know, or the one thing I can't tolerate is when people are late. I really hate that on the set. When people make people wait, it just drives me crazy. You know, I just don't understand that. When actors make a whole set wait, I just don't understand that.
Okay, right here. Yes, with the water bottle.
You were fantastic.
The question was about whether there's a parallel between how he relates, you know, how he related in the film to the chefs, you know, that he met. You mean it's kind of like looking up to people that...
Just the intensity and the myopia and the...
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I mean, I definitely can relate to the eating, sleeping, and breathing something, an obsession. You know, especially editing a movie, I find that I can't shut my brain off, and that's why we were very, you know, I was thinking, we were talking about, you know, what does this guy do if he doesn't drink anymore and he's not sleeping with anybody? What is he doing at night? Because he's not getting 12 hours of sleep. You know, so we did this whole night sequence of, you know, he's walking around the city and like looking at little markets, always searching, always doing research. That came out of something, you know, the idea of like it being a constant. And then just down to work ethic. The one thing, thank God, is true is I really think you only succeed and stay in a place of succession if you do have a tremendous work ethic. And laziness just won't last, in my experience, in any field. You know, I was sort of raised with a work ethic, and I have a work ethic, and that I share with him. But the other stuff, you know, I wasn't really conscious of when we were doing it. And he put a lot of pressure on himself. You know, I don't put that kind of pressure on myself. I enjoy it way more than he does. I don't think he was really enjoying it, you know. I remember when we shot the scene where he, you know, finally goes out and gets messed up and goes to Reese's restaurant. You know, it really wasn't in the script that he puts a bag over his head and tries to kill himself. And that just happened. But I do remember like putting that bag over my head. I was like, oh, it was just so nice. I was just thinking like that guy in that moment, like he's trying so desperately. He's white knuckling it, you know, so much that, you know, any relief, you know, I definitely don't walk through life like that, thank God, at all. So in that way, no, we're not similar.
I love the fact that we have all seen you all those years ago asking Robert De Niro a question on Actor Studio, because it really seems like you see the value of being here in a room in front of all these actors. I know you have another engagement to get to, so we are out of time, but I want to say on behalf of everybody here, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for coming.
And thanks for sticking around, everybody. Have a great day.
I don't know if I can do it.
You can't do it alone.
You're the best. The rest of us need you to lead us to places we otherwise wouldn't go.